opening markets is good, but the free trade must be also balanced against fair trade. And clearly what has happened is the trade has not been fair. That has fallen on the American workers, and we cannot allow, as I think I mentioned to you, China is the most unbalanced economy in the history of the world. They are in a severe recession/depression. They may have -4% disinflation, and they are attempting to export their way out of that as opposed to doing the much-needed internal rebalance. Yep. So, I am with you on the need to open markets, but we cannot allow a player like this to flood our markets or to flood the world.
Our perspectives, you can see from this committee, are arguing about what we think are the right economic policies for the country. And as the Treasury nominee, with your background and experience, we still are talking about the president's policies and whether we think they're effective or not. Real GDP has increased at an annual rate of 3.1% in the third quarter of 2024. That's strong growth, right?
As an aggregate number, it's strong growth.
Okay. The economy added 16 million jobs over the last 4 years. An average unemployment rate is the lowest it's been in 50 years. So that's led to better pay and working conditions. We want that, right?
I'm in favor of better pay and working conditions. Okay. Yes, Senator.
And after-tax income increased by 400%. So these are good economic news. And I personally think that focusing on innovation and building supply chains is a good thing to do. And so when you start talking about tariffs, that's when you get, the Pacific Northwest attention. In fact, I would say a recent editorial by one of my newspapers was, bracing for the Trump tariffs, aviation in general. You can imagine we actually have an actual net surplus. I think we export about $2 billion worth of goods out of our state versus importing $1 billion, but this is a big part of it. And so in the aviation sector, I think I sent you an article about the fact that we think increasing our manufacturing innovation to continue to have markets and sell to those markets is a good economic strategy.
Senator Cantwell, as I discussed in your office, that in my hometown of Charleston, South Carolina, Boeing is also the largest employer. So I view aviation as very important.
Great. So now I want to, and believe me, I would have the same conversation with Joe Biden or Barack Obama or whoever. So I want to focus on innovation, not the tariffs. I'm worried that the tariffs are going to increase supply chain products. They're going to increase prices on our farmers. They're going to increase prices on Americans. And so I want to ask you, don't you think we are in an environment where exporting products and growing markets outside the United States is a big economic opportunity? And what are you going to do to build coalitions to help us be able to achieve opening up those markets as opposed to just the retaliatory tariff environment, which may raise costs on Americans and not resolve these issues?
So, Senator Cantwell, thank you for that. And after our discussion in your office, I actually went back and looked at some older data. In 2000, in terms of the labor share of aggregate income in the U.S., 69% accrued to labor. Today, that number is 60, and you could see a sharp drop after what is called the China shock. So I agree with you that opening markets is good, but the free trade must be also balanced against fair trade. And clearly what has happened is the trade has not been fair. That has fallen on the American workers, and we cannot allow, as I think I mentioned to you, China is the most imbalanced, unbalanced economy in the history of the world. They are in a severe recession/depression. They may have -4% disinflation, and they are attempting to export their way out of that as opposed to doing the much-needed internal rebalance.
Yeah.
So, I am with you on the need to open markets, but we cannot allow a player like this to flood our markets or to flood the world.
Well, but I'm saying I believe in coalitions. We just discussed a technology NATO. I think you thought that was a good idea. The notion, though, I mean, I can get upset with my colleagues on the other aisle all the time and object, but that doesn't move me forward. And so I hope that you will look at what we're going to do to build allies. I mean, these numbers that basically are talking about just the tariff and what it would do to the price of gasoline given Canada is concerning. And so I want to know that the Trump administration is going to focus as much on innovating our way to success as we are on the tariffs, because I do think we're going to see retaliatory tariffs. We saw them in our state. It hurt us in our agriculture. And what happened is that you lose more farms. I mean, there's a lot of people buying farmland. Goldman Sachs, Bill Gates, there's a lot of people buying farmland. But we're losing farmers in the middle of the trade wars, and that's a concern I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And oh, by the way, thank you so much for mentioning housing. I so appreciate that that was in your statement. I look forward to working with you. I do think that's an area, if the president will push forward, that it is a way for us to lower costs. Thank you.